Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Jacob Dickey here in the WCIA 3 Forecast Center. Wanted to join in with y'all and talk a little bit about things tonight, especially since we have some rain and snow moving on in now. Very light in nature, not really concerned too much with tonight. Although we also are going to talk about how there's a fly in the ointment for the forecast this week. And you've probably heard Tuesday, the forecast looks really great. Now, there's some subtle changes that could impact that for Central Illinois. We'll talk about that, as well as how long this warmer stretch of weather is going to last. Some of you are going to like it. You winter lovers may not. And we'll kind of tease a little bit about what we think maybe for what's coming our way in the next couple of weeks as far as the pattern that's heading our way, and whether or not we think maybe there's a chance for either more winter weather, or this time of year we have to start thinking even about severe weather just a little bit in the back of our minds. So lots of folks checking on in now. Again, every Sunday night we do this at 8 o'clock. It's a little after 8. Had a few issues with the computer, but we still join here around the digital roundtable. Get to share a little bit more about the weather, more than the 2 minutes and 30 seconds they give me on TV. And we hope you get to learn something as well. So thank you to everyone who is in the comments checking in. We really appreciate that. We will round out this tonight with questions that you may have at the very end of our time together here. Let's jump right to it. Here we are, Neal Street camera. Some light drizzle out there. If you've been driving, it's a light drizzle, very fine showers, not anything heavy. And that's probably the best case scenario for us here as far as it goes with snow melt and things of that sort. Even in Springfield right now, it looks pretty cloudy in place there. That light drizzle, low clouds, kind of a dreary evening for us in Central Illinois. And the winds have also been up a bit. You can see the towers there, how it's kind of shaking ever so slightly. The wind has really been a factor for our weather throughout the day today. Here's a look at radar. We'll talk about that, then show you those temperatures. I think you'll be impressed today. Very light in nature. We had a little bit earlier, try and mix in with some snow as forecast for Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois counties. But as that area of low pressure passes on through, that south wind has been bringing more mild air on in. So just some light drizzly showers across parts of the area. Gibson City to Watseka, up Highway 54. Even in McLean County, we're seeing some showers right now. A little bit of a break here, but we know there's some fine drizzle still at the surface underneath these clouds. Seems like there may have been some more moderate showers in intensity as far as it goes along and south of Interstate 70 earlier today, but that's about it. Here's the temperatures still. We're sitting in the 30s in most spots out there. 36 in Champaign, 38 in Decatur, 38 in Jacksonville. Let's think about it. If we took the temperatures down about 5 degrees, 6, 7 degrees, we'd probably be dealing with a pretty significant icing event right now at the surface if all things worked out. Instead, we're just warm enough where we just have this light drizzle. This light type of drizzle, if it was a freezing rain event, it's not. No ice concerns tonight. But if it was, this is what you'd want to see, a very fine drizzle. That's when you can have problems. But we're too warm. We're not going to have to worry about any freezing rain here in Central Illinois tonight. That's good. We're thankful for that. There's those winds. The gusts have been high at times. We've seen some gusts of 25 to 35 miles an hour. I even saw a gust earlier of 41 miles per hour from the south in Watseka. That's been drawing in more mild air to the region. We beat the forecast as far as it goes today. We were thinking upper 30s. We got into the low to middle 40s out there thanks to those south winds helping out. Champaign hit 40 today. Been a little while since we've done that. 42 in Decatur. Springfield got a high of 41. 43 in Danville. Effingham got all the way up to 45. And today was actually the first day in about 17 days for much of Central Illinois that we were above freezing. So pretty nice weather as far as it goes. People were here in the studio were joking. Mark Maxwell talked about this is shorts and T-shirts weather. I was out taking my garbage out, shorts and a T-shirt before the rain started. Pretty nice. See these 40s back in here after that Arctic blast we've had in Central Illinois. All right, let's talk a little bit more about moving forth, what we're looking at this week. What are we watching in the forecast for here? First off, the snow on the ground does play a role in things here and will impact those temperatures. Normally, how things work if there was no snow on the ground. So let's pick a late spring, summer day, or even in the fall. Nice and sunny, the grass is green, the trees are bare, of course. What happens is the sun's energy comes down to the ground and it heats it up. The ground then, in turn, is what heats the air up here. The sun doesn't directly heat the air up. It's an indirect process. The sun heats the ground heats the air. And when you have no snow, you have a pretty efficient system there. All of the heating stays in one cycle. the snow like we've had here. You know, we start to get a little snow, and then we add some snow on top of that. The snow can actually affect our temperatures and keep things a little colder, especially when that snow depth is up a bit, like we've had in parts of central Illinois. Instead of getting maximum heating of the ground from the sun, here's what happens. That snow, it's bright. It's shiny. We had some sunshine yesterday. If you were driving, you needed those sunglasses because the sun's light and energy is reflected off that snow and bounced back into the atmosphere. We don't get any of that heating from the air as far as it goes from the ground here. So we lose some of that. In addition, snow will pull heat from the ground and radiate it out into the sky there. So you're two for two as far as losing energy from the sun to help heat the sky. Today, even though we had snow on the ground, we overcame that because we were advecting wind. We were taking winds and advecting in or pulling in more mild air into central Illinois. And there were spots that even last night and this morning still got down into the teens and even single digits in Livingston, Ford, Iroquois County. Even Champaign got to 16 this morning because the ground was getting that heat pulled out from it and radiate into the sky. So in general, when there's snowpack, we have to watch to see, okay, we think the temperatures may be a little cooler. This is one of the things we're looking for here. There's some other things that are happening, though, in the forecast as far as it goes. We're still going to keep it in the 40s, even though we've got snow on the ground. I think tomorrow we're bringing that south and west wind in again, 10 to 20 miles an hour. So we're going to advect in some milder air here. Tuesday, we're still in the mid to upper 40s in the forecast with thoughts that we could get to the 50s. I got fog possible, though. That's the fly in the ointment we're talking about. I'll show you more on that. By the time Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning rolls through, though, there's a weak cold front that pushes on through, maybe a shower somewhere. Not optimistic for that. But that will help to end any chance for fog, and the rest of the week should be fine here. But Tuesday's the day where we're really thinking, uh-oh, we might be in trouble as far as it goes. Here's why. Future track visibility Monday night. The fog really picks on up here according to Future Track. If this happens, low clouds are very stubborn, especially in the wintertime. They essentially act as an insulating blanket. You get an area of low clouds or some fog. What that's doing is keeping temperatures warmer during the night and colder during the day. Well, we just talked about how the snowpack was keeping us colder at night and colder during the day. So there's these different things that are going on here. So if we get some fog as far as Monday night, look what happens here. Tuesday morning and into the day, here's about lunchtime Tuesday, about the time Kevin Lytle will be having some chicken wings somewhere, I'm sure. It still is showing that bright red, poor visibility in central Illinois. The more fog we have, the less direct sunlight we get, the less we heat the earth. I think you see where this is going as far as the fly in the ointment. And then it wants to suggest that even into Tuesday night we keep the fog around here for a dreary and cloudy day on Tuesday. So here's another way to look at things. This is what we call a skew-T sounding. It's a look in the atmosphere at our profile and what we expect as far as it goes. It's a little bit sciencey. I probably wouldn't show this on TV much at all. But what I want to do is show you the profile. The red line you see there is the temperature. And what we're looking at is when we've got that temperature in place, that red line shows us that here's the 30 degrees. Well, what's the temperature moving up? A traditional graph, if you've got kids in geometry or doing math on graph paper, is vertical and horizontal. Well, this white line is 30 degrees Fahrenheit right there on our profile. So what we see here is that our temperature is actually cooling, then warming, then cooling the rest of the way up. We call this an inversion or a cap. It's almost a lid in the atmosphere. If I had an air parcel sitting at 30 degrees and I wanted to follow it up, I'm going to hit that inversion. Warm air generally, and cold air essentially. Warm air rises and cold air sinks here. So when we have warm air, well, if we hit air that's warm, it can't rise through that. And what this means is, long story short, is this inversion and this cap right here acts as a lid on the atmosphere. And here's what we think will happen. If we get some clouds underneath there, there'll be some fog that's trapped very close to that surface as far as it goes. But above us will be plenty of blue sky, very dry air aloft. You see the green and the red line close together, the green line being dew point. That is where you see saturation, which gives us a clue that there may be some fog forming. This is a forecast sounding for during the day on Tuesday. If this little area of warmer air here, this cap wasn't there, probably wouldn't have to worry about fog, but usually at nighttime we cool off and then warm up during the daytime at the surface. So that's something we're watching. It might be a little extreme as far as the sciencey, nerdy type of things, but I think you can kind of see how there's almost a lid sitting right there which would keep the fog from mixing out and really help it lock in place close to the surface. You know, if we had, say we had the green and red touching up here, we might have, 3-4 miles up, we might have some cirrus clouds. Or if it's down here, we might have some, altocumulus clouds. But close to the ground is usually a sign for stratus or fog. And we think it's going to be fog if it in fact plays out on Tuesday. I'm not entirely confident on what it would be. So here's the deal with Tuesday's forecast. If we have fog and you stick the fog in place, your highs are going to be in the 30s. It's going to be kind of dreary. Not fun. We hope this doesn't happen. We hope Tuesday instead what plays out is we don't have any fog to worry about, or if you do have some fog and it mixes out early, then you get into the 40s and 50s out there. It is entirely possible that we could have someone in Champaign County be stuck in the fog and in the 30s, and we could have someone in some sunshine in Douglas County sitting up for highs in the 40s and 50s. Where exactly that fog forms at this point, I can't be specific enough on that. But I can tell that there's some pattern that's there saying, hey, we may have some fog coming Monday night into Tuesday. So if you wait, you're up Monday night like I am, 10, 11 o'clock before you go to bed, you watch the news with Kevin Leidy and Jessica Coons and whatnot. If you're watching at 10 o'clock and there's some fog out there on Monday night, as far as it goes for Tuesday's forecast. So no fog, 40s and 50s. If we have some fog, we'll be sitting in the 30s as far as it goes. The longer the fog sticks around, the lower the forecast high is going to be. I'll be honest, there's a lot of things we don't know in weather, and this is one of them. Who's going to get the fog and who's not? It may be that most all of us are in the fog, but this far out, I'm not wanting to be so specific in that, but it's definitely something that we'll be watching here moving forth. The good news is, if we're worried about losing all of our nice sunshine and mild weather, there you go. Look at that. We've got 40s on the forecast board for all week. Tuesday is the question, but there's actually a weak cold front that comes in Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That will get rid of that cap, that inversion that keeps the fog in place, help it mix out with some blustery winds. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we think there'll be the chance for some decent sunshine there. Maybe a shower as it passes by Wednesday, but I think we're going to hold off on chances for rain until the weekend as far as it goes. So there we go. That's what we got for high temperatures here. I will say this, we're already kind of watching ahead and thinking, is spring coming? Are we going to stick with spring? We've had snow in late March. We've had snow in April. We've even had some snow, rare occasions in May in central Illinois. The weather will be the weather, and whether we like it or not, we can't control it. That's the way it goes. We are doing our best to predict things. But we're noticing that, hey, this is maybe that first sign of spring as far as it goes with these milder temperatures in place. So if you live with a farmer, you might notice when you get that first mild sunny day, whether it's Tuesday or we have to wait till Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you might notice that maybe there's something just a little off about them. It's probably instincts thinking, starting to think about planting in a couple of months. If you have a kid that's a middle school kid, or your name's Mark Maxwell, like he said in the 5:30 digital show we did, probably going to want to wear shorts and a t-shirt. I was there myself. I've thought about wearing shorts and a t-shirt today. I took the garbage out in that. Some of these early signs of spring are coming, but that doesn't mean we're done with the winter weather. And what I'm going to do is zoom forward here real fast because I want to show the 8 to 14 day outlook. This is for the first week of March. You see these orange colors here. We're playing the game of odds this far out, but those orange colors are an indication we think there'll be more mild days than cold days, more above average temperatures, which would put us in the 40s, maybe low 50s as well. As far as the weather this week, I'll tell you what, we've done a good job on Sunday nights. So you go all the way back to when we started this show in mid-January, when we first brought up the word polar vortex. We said by late January that pattern change was coming. We knew cold air was on the way. So there was some good heads up with the pattern recognition, big picture. I couldn't have told you that it was going to be as cold as it was. But looking at this here for this week's weather, we told you last Sunday night, hey, we're going to have 40s and maybe some low 50s at times out there. That's what's playing out for us this week. It looks like that first week of March, the odds are in favor for us to be more mild than not. And we may have a decent chance for some active weather too. Above normal precipitation seems more likely than not in the next 8 to 14 day window for us here across central Illinois. Does that mean it can't be snow? No, we could very well have a snow event out of this. I'm thinking next weekend when we get the rain event, though, we'll probably have a better chance of having a few isolated thunderstorms amongst our rain chances rather than we will snow. that's probably the way things are looking out. But that long term, we're already now kind of incrementally stepping closer and closer to spring here. But again, it has snowed in March, April, even early May in central Illinois. The later you get, the less it will last. So I think back to 2013, and that was the last big snow event in central Illinois, at least Champaign-Urbana, that was rivaled the snow we just saw. It was the Monday after spring break at the University of Illinois, and I was a sophomore in college at the time. We got 12 to 18 inches of snow in central Illinois. They canceled the first day of class back from spring break. So that's what we're going to say. We'll leave it at that. We're not done with the snow yet, but the further we get, the odds of it go less and less. It's still February right now. So very well, we'll probably have a couple of more snow events as far as it goes here in central Illinois. All right, I do want to talk a little bit, too, about how spring every year seems to be just a touch earlier and a touch earlier. Let's talk about the growing season. If there's any farmers or agriculturalists that are watching here, the average length of the growing season, what that is that's measured from the last freeze in the early spring to the first frost in the fall. Your growing season is in there. You get the first frost, kills the plants, no more growing. The last freeze then is when we kind of think that, we start to grow some plants and do some things like that. They usually didn't come until April or whatnot. But interestingly enough, as we look at the 1971 to 2020, the 2000 average, I should say, the 30-year average, here was the length of the growing season. Along the Interstate 72 corridor, about 180 days. So about half the year is technically considered the growing season. A little bit higher to the south, a little bit less to the north. Champaign, we're sitting pretty close to 175, 180. 175 days for Bloomington, Watseka, Danville, 185 for Taylorville, Mattoon, down to Effingham. In recent years, we've noticed that our last freeze and our first frost have been spreading apart a little more. So we've been having our last freeze a little earlier, and we've been having our first frost a little later. The 1991 to 2020 average for the growing season is up a little bit. We're about 190 in Champaign and Lincoln, Petersburg, Danville, Watseka, Pontiac. 195 days or so, if not a little higher for Springfield, Decatur, down to Mattoon, and almost 200 days now making it on the board for Effingham and Taylorville. An interesting thing to see here is the average growing season. Again, that last freeze happening slightly earlier and the first frost happening slightly later. We'll back it up, 170, 75, 80, and 85 days on the 1971 to 2000 average, the 30-year average. That's a great way that we can look at details in weather over a 30-year period. You jump forward, it's a little higher there, 10, 15 days longer as far as it goes. So, a little bit of an earlier spring, not out of the question the way the averages have been looking, but still, plenty of time for us to get a snow in here. That growing season usually runs April through November approximately, sometimes October and whatnot. So that's what I got for you. Again, we kind of talked a little bit, if you're jumping in late, we covered the fly in the ointment, how the fog may be an issue on Tuesday for some of us in central Illinois. We talked a little bit about thoughts about a spring. Are we getting earlier? Will the snow be done? No, it won't. But at least for the next 8 to 14 days, it seems like we're going to stay in a more mild but still a bit wetter pattern across central Illinois. And that may bring the chance for our first thunderstorms into the area by next weekend, if not beyond. That's about all I can say at this point from pattern recognition, big picture stuff. Can't tell you, next Thursday, the first Thursday in March at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a thunderstorm in Champaign. That's not the way it works. We're talking big picture at this point. What's the big picture pattern showing us here across the region for moving forth? But very much we'll watch that pattern as it sneaks on in. Still, though, milder weather. Again, Tuesday, the fly in the ointment. We can go 50s. We could stay in the 30s. That's how drastic of a change this could very well be if you're seeing fog versus no fog out there. But I think that most all of us have a chance to get up into the upper 40s and low 50s by the time the weekend rolls around. If there's any questions, what I'm going to do is jump over to those and we'll wrap this Canarble wagon up. Had a great time, of course, next week, what I'll do is we will actually talk a little bit more about what we think for severe weather season. Kind of early thoughts. I haven't quite figured out whether I agree with it yet, but early thoughts are in central Illinois, it will probably be more active of a severe weather season than it was last year for the spring. Here's the deal, though. Last year was lackluster. It was absolutely empty as far as severe weather went for Central Illinois. There were a few instances here and there. We had a hailstorm in the summer, but the springtime was very quiet for us here. Usually we see a severe weather pattern emerge every so often. In February you get one. I can think back in, I think it was 2014, we had a tornado event in Central Illinois. We had tornadoes in the I-80 corridor a couple of years back that hit Ottawa and Streator and areas up there. So sometimes they happen in February. March we see more. April into May is more our peak here. So we're getting closer to that, but I'm going to hold off on those official thoughts and still kind of go through some data and see some updates. But I feel like the bar is pretty low, as is, for severe weather season in 2021. Doesn't take much for Illinois, even Oklahoma. If I've got some folks watching from southwest Oklahoma, it doesn't take much more for the bar to go a little higher than what we saw in the 2020 spring season. Mississippi and Alabama, I may have some friends on there watching right now from my first station. The bar is pretty high from the spring severe weather season last year. You had an active pattern from December all the way into April as far as tornadoes were concerned. That 6-month period is pretty grueling. So down there, probably still going to do with that thanks to the warmer Gulf of Mexico sea surface temperatures. There's more moisture in place. It doesn't take much down there. For Central Illinois, though, we had one event last year that I can think of that I went storm chasing in Illinois in March and April. It's not going to take much more to overperform compared to what the bar was set for last year. So that's kind of the thoughts that we have. We're going to wrap this up. We will see you next Sunday night. If not, we're going to check the questions and just kind of make sure we've answered anything. Of course, thanks for watching and joining us here on this Sunday evening. Every night at 8 o'clock, we'll be live on TV at 9 and 10, and we'll go from there. All right, Linda is ready for spring. Just windy and raining. Tess saying that. That is, I think Tess is where she's at, seeing that. Somebody doesn't want snow. I'm with you. I'm tired of the snow as far as it goes. Tess liking the temperatures here, yep. Someone's joining in now, they're seeing this. Remember, we talked a lot about Tuesday, how there could be the fly in the ointment as far as it goes. Someone's in, Raphael, come on, buddy. Bragging about your 70 and sunny in Florida while we're stuck up here. Brian asking about significant fog. Yes, the melting of snow will also help with the fog, and we think that we've melted quite a bit off, to be honest, but you're melting snow down, you're still evaporating moisture into the air, so that snow is going to have a chance to help generate some fog, especially if you try and pull warmer air on it. So there's a lot of factors that are working for some fog here later on this week. I am so glad that you learn. I want you to learn. I think that's great. That's why we do these Sunday night things. We want to educate, inform, talk about what we're looking at in the forecast so you can get a more in-depth picture. That's the goal of these. And then, of course, have a little fun and make some jokes every now and then. But, yes, that's what we like, and we appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that folks are learning. If you're learning stuff, too, let me know. I appreciate hearing that. I really do. Jonathan, we don't want no fly in the ointment. No, we do not. Of course, there's always something. Always something. Every once in a while, the fog sometimes sneaks up on us. I was able to sniff this one out from a mile away and say, what's going on here? A combination of snow melt, milder temperatures advecting on in. Even tonight, there's a little bit trying to mix on in because of milder air. But it seems like Tuesday is the day that will be the forecast buster for fog. It's either going to be 50s and upper 40s, or it's going to be 30s. I don't think there's any other way to say that here. And we'll probably see folks that are dealing with both of that, with both of those solutions in Central Illinois. So you may get the 40s and 50s on Sunday. Great, you're lucky. You may get stuck in the fog. We'll blame it on Kevin Lighty. I blame everything on Kevin if you're on here for that. Rachel doesn't want snow in April. It happens every now and then. It doesn't happen all the time. We just have to consider that as an option. I like to play the game of odds here if you're, a fan of, for instance, I know ESPN has that stat tracker for the probability of winning the game here. You know, that probability for winter coming back is slowly starting to decline now here. I don't think we're done with cold air and snow, but I think that we're probably not going to have to deal with anything quite like we did. Quite an anomalous event with that Arctic outbreak of air that snuck on in, caused all of those problems and gave us the big snow. But hey, we satisfied the snow lovers. So nobody complained to us and said, where's my snow this year? It's been overall for Champaign-Urbana, it was the biggest snowstorm in 6 years, back to 2015. If you want to find a snowstorm that was bigger than that, you got to go to 2013, that spring break event following. Bill, how many snows can we predict for the rest of winter? I don't want to give a number. I would suggest a couple. There was an old-timer thing. We talked about this on the show a while back. And somebody suggested that it was, it's like, you know, the first day that you have thunder in December or something is how many snows you get, or I don't remember. Old-timers saying, someone may catch that. I don't know what number we're on. I thought it was like 18 or something like that. That's the old-timer way of doing things. But yeah, we probably will have the chance for a few more before all is said and done. But having another big Arctic blast with wind chills negative 20 to 30 below, I don't see that being the case. All right. It looks like all we've got there for those comments and questions. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to wrap this up. Again, Sunday nights at 8 o'clock, we get to spend a little extra time around the digital roundtable. Have a little fun with the forecast, make some jokes. Hope you learned something. And, of course, be sure and join me for my full forecast on WCIA 3 News at 9 o'clock and at 10 o'clock. In addition, you can catch my forecast right now if you don't want to wait. I've got it updated on WCIA.com/weather and on the WCIA 3 weather app. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you at 9 and 10.